Hello guys and welcome to our tiny garden. Today I want to show you how I make compost that I use for my fruit trees that enables me to get these beautiful oranges that are so tasty and so juicy and so many other trees that I have in my compound. So stick around and see exactly how I do it. So this is the kind of compost that I use for my fruit trees, and I like using it at this stage because I still want some grass in my soil because it really helps improve the soil structure and helps in the retention of moisture. Otherwise, if you're going to make compost for your vegetables, I recommend that you decompose it further until you're not able to recognize anything. So first up, you need your green material, and this is going to be your nitrogen source, which is an essential nutrient for the microbes that will break down the organic matter in the compost pile. Number two, it's going to activate the decomposition because it has a very high moisture content, and this moisture combined with the high nitrogen, it's going to activate and accelerate the decomposition process. And finally, green material provides the necessary nitrogen to balance the high carbon content of the brown materials and ensure that we have optimal composting conditions. You will also need brown material, which is going to be your source of carbon that provides energy for the microorganisms that break down the organic matter. It is also important for structure and aeration as they help create air pockets within the pile and therefore facilitate proper airflow and oxygenation. Remember, oxygen is crucial for the aerobic microorganisms that are responsible for the decomposition. Finally, brown material also breaks down very slowly and therefore a slow release of nutrients that help ensure a steady and long-term supply of essential elements to the plants when the final compost is applied to the soil. And finally, you need manure, as manure contains a wide range of essential nutrients, including macro and micronutrients. These include nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium, calcium, magnesium, and various trace elements. These nutrients become available to the plant once the compost is applied to the soil. It is also a valuable source of nitrogen, which is an essential nutrient for the microbes that are responsible for decomposition. And finally, manure activates decomposition as it contains a diverse population of beneficial microorganisms. These include bacteria and fungi that jumpstart the decomposition process. So I went ahead and picked a spot where I want to have my compost pile, and I start by spreading a layer of the brown material. Notice that I chopped up all of my materials as this makes handling of the compost pile very easy. I then water the brown material with rainwater. Please avoid chlorinated tap water as the chlorine will kill the microorganisms that we desperately need in the decomposition process. Add a layer of manure and sprinkle some water over it, and then put your green material and then water that as well. Repeat the process until you have a heap big enough for you to handle, as you will need some muscle to keep turning the compost pile every 5 days. So here I have my finished pile. I'm going to cover it so that it doesn't dry out. If the compost is too dry, then the decomposition process will stop. If it is too wet, the process will slow down and your compost will have a very nasty smell. This is because it lacked oxygen, which is crucial for the growth and activity of beneficial aerobic microorganisms that are responsible for the decomposition process. I will be turning my compost every 5 days. However, if your pile is larger, you can turn it every 2 to 3 weeks, as long as you monitor the moisture level and ensure proper aeration. Remember, turning is very important as it introduces oxygen and promotes the breakdown of organic matter. Therefore, frequent turning will accelerate the process. So this is how my compost is looking like at day 5. I'll go ahead and turn it, and you can use whichever tool you have available. As you can see, the compost is seriously cooking. This is super important as the heat generated accelerates the process by breaking down complex organic compounds into simpler forms, and most importantly, the heat kills or inactivates any disease-causing organisms and even the weed seeds. If your compost pile is not heating up, you should adjust the carbon to nitrogen ratio, that is the brown material to the green material ratio. Once you're done turning, bring it up into a heap again and cover. So this is day 10 and this is how my compost is looking like. I'm just going to go ahead and turn it, and as you can see, it is heating up beautifully. We really need that heat. So go ahead and keep turning your compost. So I noticed that my compost was getting a little bit dry and went ahead and added some water. Please remember to use dechlorinated water, that is rainwater. If you do not have rainwater, you can still go ahead and use tap water. But what you need to do is to let it sit out there in the open in a container for about 48 hours, and then you can still go ahead and use it. After you're done turning the pile, go ahead and bring it up into a heap again and cover. This is how my compost is looking like after 6 weeks, and I like to use it at this stage for my fruit trees. But like I said earlier, if you want to decompose it further for your vegetables, you can still go ahead and decompose it further. The smell of the compost at this point is very, very earthy, very pleasant smelling, and it has completely cooled down. So this is very okay and very ready for you to use on your trees. So this is how I do it. I remove the mulch and then I'm going to dig around the tree just a little bit. Once I'm done digging, I'm going to add in my finished compost, incorporate it in the soil, and then once I'm done, I'll just return the mulch, and finally I will water the trees. And that is it. That is just how simple it is to make your own compost. Thank you so much for watching. And if you found this video useful, please share it with someone that is interested in this kind of content.